Hello you beautiful human, I am Xanthe, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you an interview that I did with Melissa Dilkes Pateras. We did it over Zoom because, social distancing and all, so there is some lag, but the audio is perfect. So if you see us like going as we're like talking, it's the internet. We can't do anything about it, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hello again.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good.
So I guess to start off, what do you identify as?
I identify as gay or lesbian, I would say.
Okay. On your Facebook and stuff, I saw that, like, your video with responding to the people who are making, like, different comments about, like, being lesbian and stuff like that, and I really liked how you responded to that and, like, having a positive spin on everything. So, do you want to talk a little bit about why you chose to do it like that?
I think because most of the comments are positive, but there's always going to be a few people that are negative or will say one thing, even though it's negative, but they're really just trying to say another.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because in a way they think they're somehow being politically correct by disguising it in another inappropriate way. Um, yeah, just comments about my kids must be adopted or something to that effect, which in reality, the actual video had nothing to do with anything gay.
Yeah.
But to sit there and fight with people and go back and forth and be negative, it doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't do anything. So I just kind of, I don't know, I guess I just take a more positive approach and just try not to get into fights with strangers that I don't know.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. So about like your sexuality and stuff like that. When you were younger, did you kind of like know already, or was it kind of like the people around you? Like, how did you learn about like being part of the LGBTQ community and stuff like that?
Um, well, I've just known that I was different probably from, well, as far as I can remember. I mean, I'd say three or four, but I can't remember. As far as I can remember, um, I just remember feeling like something was wrong or different or it wasn't like the other kids. But I think because I didn't really know what gay was, I think I, for a while there, thought maybe I was in the wrong body in a way because I just didn't know. It's not that my parents were um, against anything or closed-minded. It just wasn't a topic that was, generally talked about in the house. So I didn't really know what it was. But then I guess as I got older, I realized what it was, but it wasn't an overly socially acceptable thing was to be gay or lesbian or anything like that. Um, so it wasn't that I disliked guys. I had a couple of boyfriends in high school whom I really liked, but it was just always there. I mean, I knew I was gay,
Mm-hmm.
but I really liked the companionship of guys. Um, and I mean, we didn't have anything necessarily available, I would say, when I was in high school. There was no um, like gay straight alliance. It was nothing like that. So it was just a matter of kind of going to Pride when you were in high school and seeing that there were other people out there. I mean, being in a small town, there wasn't really openly gay people, right? I mean, you saw it on TV and it didn't feel real. So I remember going to Pride in high school and thinking, wow, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot more than you think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And did it kind of feel like, yay, I found my people? Like, did it feel like nice and welcoming there? And like when you found that group of people?
Yeah, I think I felt comfortable. Like, it's not that I wouldn't say that I didn't feel accepted. as who I was, but something obviously was there that I wasn't completely living an open life. It's just as a teenager. But once I did kind of find myself and decide that that's who I was, yeah, it was great. I had great 20s.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like, how old were you when you had your first girlfriend then?
I would say like a serious girlfriend, probably, I was probably 20, I guess, for a serious girlfriend, like somebody that I dated for a couple of years. Um, I was maybe 19 or 20. Yeah, I would say that was probably the first serious anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And you said had shorter hair in high school, right? So
Yeah,
I
I
guess like
remember.
that wasn't as normal for I guess girls to have shorter hair. So were you like the person who everybody kind of knew like, oh, she's a little bit different than everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I think I never had long hair. I never wore dresses. I never wore girls' clothes really ever. Um, I, I didn't try to kind of fit into norms. Um, I just was kind of who I was. I guess people would say things, but because I was kind of sporty as well, like I played a lot of sports, I got away with maybe more, I don't know, it sounds funny, but acceptance with, just kind of doing kind of male activities and having short hair and that sort of thing and dressing kind of just sporty, right? Um, but I wore a tuxedo to my prom, so it wasn't. I My boyfriend and I wore matching tuxes and top hats, so I was never ever trying to hide anything. I guess I just wasn't putting it in anybody's face, which I guess in a sense is hiding it. But I think in high school I wasn't. I knew, but I wasn't like 100%. It wasn't like I was just going to go out there and start waving a flag.
Yeah. And when you kind of like felt more comfortable with yourself, I guess, you said in your 20s you like it was better in your 20s than in high school then for you accepting yourself. So then were you like did you have to like then come out to people or did people kind of already assume?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a really grand coming out story. I think that when I had my first serious girlfriend, I came out, I guess, to my best friend, but she already knew. She was like, yeah, I cared. It wasn't like this big celebration party and they were happy for me. It was just, they already knew. I think that people were surprised that I had boyfriends, to be honest. I think it was more shocking that I dated guys in high school than just for me to say I'm gay.
Wow.
Um, and I told my parents probably in and around that age. And they knew. They just said, we always knew. We thought maybe when you had boyfriends that wasn't the case, but yeah, my dad, just the only thing my dad said was, geez, you must have had a hard time in high school. And that made me feel badly because I thought I didn't. I had a great time in high school. I had lots of friends and it was great. It wasn't like it impeded anything for me socially. And I really liked the guys that I dated. They were great. I'm still friends with them. So, I mean, I don't have any regrets about that. I think that I needed to do all of those things to be where I am, right? To know who I am.
Mhm.
I think I needed to go through those kind of stages in life just to figure out and to know 100% who I am.
Yeah. What do you think would be like I guess the hardest part for you personally about all this stuff? Or was there kind of not really a definite hard point? Like, was there ever
Uh,
a point where you were just not really, like, it was really hard for you?
yeah, lots of things are hard. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think that I I don't know. I've kind of been a self-sufficient person my whole life, and I don't tend to get, feel sorry for myself because, uh, lots of things are hard for lots of people. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't to believe that my life is the hardest by any means, but lots of things are hard. Um, the fact that I have to out myself no matter what I do, right? Every single step of the way. I got married when I was, I don't know, 23, I think it was, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it was 25 when I got married. Um, Finding a minister, having to explain to every single minister you call and asking them if they marry gay people. Finding a DJ, telling a decorator, telling the people when you're ordering your invitations. Like every single thing you have to out yourself with. Every job I've ever had, people have always asked things like, oh, what does your husband do? Or are you married? And I'll say, yeah. Oh, what does your husband do? Or I remember an executive director years ago asked me if my husband liked soccer. And so it's like you're constantly having to out yourself. And then having having children was difficult because again, that's another kind of obstacle that, it's just not one of those things that can just happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then sometimes being judged or felt like you're being judged, that maybe that wasn't the right thing to do or whatever the case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Telling my doctor, because once you get pregnant, you get a different doctor. So I have to out myself again to that doctor. When I'm, delivering my kids, I have to out myself to all the nurses. Um, you know, Everything. When I had my daughter 17 years ago, the birth certificates did not have a secondary parent. It was mother and father. And I found that very difficult because I had to cross out the father and write unknown, right? So I felt that made me look like I didn't know who the father was and I was some single mother.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have to travel. Every time I travel to the US with my kids, I have to bring their birth certificates and their long form birth certificates because I have to prove that they have no father and that they only require my permission to cross. So there's
Really?
lots of,
Wow.
yeah, and I mean, there's lots of things that I think, just straight people don't consider.
Mm-hmm.
And get lots of questions like, who's the father? Do you know him? Was he your friend? Is he a family member? I mean, I have had the most crazy questions about my kids and how they came to be. But I'm pretty open about it as open as I can be and respectful of my children's privacy as well. But yeah, so I mean, just stuff like that. I find just having to out myself daily is probably the hardest thing just because I don't, it just seems so irrelevant. I half the
Mm-hmm.
time I don't even remember I'm gay. It takes somebody to ask me or tell me something to remember because I just feel fairly normal.
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can relate to that as well. So you saying that's probably like it will make people be like, yes, I'm not the only one. But like obviously everyone in this
Yeah,
community has to do that daily, right?
you don't realize how many times you have to say you're gay in a day.
Yeah.
It's like everything, things, simple things like starting a new job, right? The night before the job, you're not nervous that you can't do the job. It's more how many people do I have to say I'm gay to, right? And is it and I'm always sensitive of their reaction. For some reason, I always worry like it's going to upset them, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
tend, especially if they're older, I my first inclination is to not tell them because I don't want them to feel badly or uncomfortable, and that's wrong. But it's just different mindsets.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
Um, and another question, what I guess would you
tell someone if they're kind of struggling with their own sexuality? Like if someone came to you as like, I'm really struggling with like myself and I'm not really sure how to do this. Like, do you have anything that you think that you would say? I know it's kind of like a tricky thing, but and everyone's
Yeah,
situation
I
is
mean,
different.
it's hard because if I it's hard because if somebody came to me, I guess it would depend what the issue was. Like, are they afraid to come out to their family? Like, is that
Mm-hmm.
what they're nervous about? Are they nervous about being gay? Right? Because you can deny it all you want, but generally it is what it is, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
come back. Right?
Yeah.
You can push it aside and you can do all kinds of things, but if it's who you are, then it's who you are. But everybody takes a different amount of time to kind of accept it for themselves. And that's the thing. You have to be okay with it, I think, for yourself before you can even begin to tell other people or to try to involve people in your journey, right? But I mean, it's hard because everybody's different, and I think it's just once you know, and
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
accept it, then you can talk to the people that you care about the most. Obviously, you want to go to the people that you think are going to accept you first, right?
Yeah.
You kind of need to build up a bit of a shield for those that won't accept you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's hard because there's always going to be people who don't accept you, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be mean to you. You know, I've learned that a lot with having my kids in a public school system where um, lots of the people don't agree with the fact that I'm gay, that there's anything gay going on at the school, that we have a pride flag. Like, it's crazy the amount of parents who completely oppose any sort of gay rights talk, any diverse family talk. However, they will talk to me in the schoolyard when we're dropping off our kids, right? They don't say anything derogatory to me. It's just I know what their values and their beliefs are, and they're different than mine. Um, but yeah, I mean, I had a huge problem with the grade 8 graduation when I think
Yes.
that I do believe that that's when things started for me, because it's not like I'm a gay rights advocate at all. I'm just a parent, and I went to that same school. So I remember they have a traditional mother, son, father, daughter dance. And I actually hadn't even thought about it. I was thinking of my partner because when we were in that school, her father had passed away. So she was the only kid who didn't have a dad. And then I rushed in and I thought, oh my kids don't, like, my daughter doesn't have a dad. And surprisingly, when I went to the school to ask about it, they just said, it's tradition. So that's what we do. So then from there, I kind of started challenging tradition, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that just because something's tradition, it doesn't mean that it's right. And because I'm a social worker and I spent 10 years working with kids where lots of them didn't have dads, not because their parents were gay or anything else, but, you know, maybe their dad just wasn't involved, or maybe their dad had passed away or was in jail, right? But
Mm-hmm.
to me, a grade 8 graduation should be an inclusive event, or don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, so I mean, I got lots of comments like, can't you just wait outside while they dance? Or don't you know any men that you can just invite?
Mm-hmm. And
So it was kind of crazy.
yeah, and that also makes me think about like a wedding, because traditionally, like the bride would dance with the father and the groom would dance with his mother or whatever, but obviously that wouldn't be like a thing with your kids, and so like that will be different, I guess, for them as well. But it shouldn't matter because you're their parent. It should just be like dancing with someone that you love, like someone from your family, even if they're like your parent or a guardian or even like a sibling, whatever, or a
Yeah,
friend.
I mean, it was, they I mean, it just went back and forth. I think things are different. I think the equity officer in our area is also gay. So he put a stop to that dance altogether, just because it wasn't equitable, and it wasn't about the gay agenda. It was about lots of kids don't have two parents.
Yeah.
So some changes were made to that. But again, it's just, there's always going to be people who just don't agree with it. But at the same time, one of the things that I feel badly about is sometimes with my kids, right? I mean, my kids have to out themselves every time they meet a new friend or have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They have to instantly out themselves because they have to, you know, if they're inviting somebody over, they're going to say, oh, by the way, I don't have a dad, I have this and I have that. So I think sometimes that can be uncomfortable for them because they didn't choose this, but they have to, you know, but I mean, I don't know. I figure I was so embarrassed of my parents, and they didn't really ever do anything wrong. So maybe it's just normal to be embarrassed of your parents.
Yeah, I think that is normal. Yeah. Do you think, like, since you were younger in high school to now, do you think it's like it's way better or kind of better, or like what do you think the comparison is from when you were in high school to now when your kids are like in school, in high school?
Way better.
Mhm.
Way better. I think that society has changed. I mean, you guys can turn on a TV program and on basically every show, there's, you know, LGBT of some sort representation on lots of shows, commercials, ads. That would have never happened. There would have never been two women kissing in a Subaru commercial or anything like that. So I think that you guys are exposed to much more than we were, and in a different light. You guys are exposed to it as this is normal, this is okay. Whereas with when I was growing up, it was, if you saw it, it was a representation of this is what you shouldn't do or this is bad, right? Like this is, I don't know, filthy, right? Like it was always a very negative view of anybody gay. So the thing is, you know, and being that my daughter is your age, you know, there's kids who are out. My partner runs the GSA at her school, and there's lots of kids in it. You know, I didn't have that. So there's a lot of ways that kids can talk and meet other kids that not just that are gay, but just that are allies, right? Which is good. And I just think media in general makes it okay. It's just, it's like, this isn't a weird thing. This isn't this crazy thing that this small clan of people and rebellions are doing, right? It's just sort of, it's a normal thing. And it just, we're no different. I pay the same taxes as everybody else. I buy the same groceries and the same clothes. It's all the same, right?
Yeah.
We're all contributors.
For sure. Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. Getting to talk to you is just amazing and crazy. It's awesome. Thank you.
Well, how do you like my eyebrows?
Oh my gosh. And how's your hair? I see you have a hat on.
It's really bad.
Oh my gosh. I haven't even seen that video yet. I was going to watch it after this one.
It's really not good. It was a very big mistake.
Oh no. But now you look cool in your beanie, so.
Yeah, well, because I have no choice.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah. Thank you again, and I hope the rest of your day is good, even though it's kind of gross outside. Happy
Yes.
times.
All right. Thanks, hon. It was nice talking to you.
You as well. Bye. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and that you could get something out of it. Melissa is an amazing, amazing human being, and I am so grateful that I got to talk with her and have this interview, because she is just, I look up to her so much, and I'm so thankful that she agreed to do this with me. So leave a like for Melissa. She is amazing. I hope you have a lovely day. I'll see you next week. Bye.